Guys, welcome to the last live of 2022, and got my festive jumper on, Christmas tree in the corner. I was going to get myself a drink, but I ran out of time for that. But yeah, let's do this. We've got 30 minutes to try and get through as many questions as we possibly can. And a quick reminder, actually, let me get this back on the screen here, just so you can, if you can't ask me a question today for whatever reason, you can go to these places. The community on Facebook, nice little group there, 2,900 of us. Who knows if we get to 3,000 before the end of the year? Wouldn't that be amazing? Great place to ask a question. Also, there is the newsletter every single Thursday. That goes out at 7 a.m. And that is the best of everything I do. Blog, YouTube, podcast, everything. So often your question you have, it might just be featured in an article there. Or obviously you can just go to becleverwithyourcash.com and search in there. You might find the solution. It's something I've already written about. And obviously podfollow.com/cash chats. That is the podcast. So if you want to listen to that, please do. Right. Already got some questions going on. So let's have a look here. I've got a kind of different setup today. So I'm a bit, there we go. My eye line's better now, isn't it? Okay. So, wow, loads of you already. So Andrew says, hi, Andy. Hope you're well. I am. Thank you. My question, I see most of bank switching offers have gone. Is that normal for this time of year? Should we expect to see them come back in January? So you're spot on there, Andrew. So there are only 2 offers left right now. One of them ends tomorrow on Thursday, the 22nd of December. That is the HSBC offer. £200 for switching in. Plus, if you go via cashback site Quidco, you get another 40 quid. And if you're new to Quidco, you've never signed up to them before, there's another offer that I've got, an exclusive offer I've got on becleveryourcash.com, which get you another £10 when you join. There is a higher paying welcome offer that also I've got, £17, but that one you have to make a purchase, so the HSBC one won't track. So it depends if you're going to use cashback sites more often. I think you should, in which case go for the £17 offer. If you just want the HSBC one, go for the £10 offer. But that ends tomorrow, and that just leaves the First Direct £175 offer. You can't get both those incidentally if you right now because they're part of the same bank. HSBC and First Direct are part of the same bank. Back to Andrew's question though. Yes, this is relatively normal to see a lot of the offers disappear. And I would expect to see them, if not at the start of January, late January, early February, we'll start seeing the banks come back. A lot of them tend to do this quite cyclically. So you'll have them do, again, often they're like sort of partner banks, aren't they? So Halifax will do an offer, that'll end, then Lloyds will do one, then there'll be a gap, then Halifax will come back, and then they'll finish, and then Lloyds will do it. Likewise, NatWest and RBS. NatWest will have an offer, that'll finish, then RBS, maybe they cross over a little bit. But they kind of come and go throughout the time. Now, I would imagine, I can't guarantee this because you never know, but I would imagine we would see HSBC come back. We'll see NatWest and RBS come back, Lloyds and Halifax come back. What I don't know is Nationwide. They hadn't done one before. They launched it in August of 21 and it ran until, was it November, end of November? Don't know. Hopefully it will come back. I really can't say. The Co-op Refer a Friend offer, again, hadn't been doing things for a while. Suddenly bought one back and then really massively increased it in December. Again, I've no idea. But hopefully, yeah, fingers crossed, there will be more deals coming back. And what's really exciting for me, and maybe for some of you, is that when the deals do return in the new year, often, not always, but often, that eligibility cutoff date has moved forward a year as well. So the moment, for example, that HSBC offer, you can't get it if you've had an account with them since the 1st of January 2019. A few other terms and conditions in there as well. Well, if that suddenly comes back and it's the 1st of January 2020, there might be a whole load of people who can get this offer for the first time or maybe for the second time. So I will obviously keep you updated here on the channel, those monthly updates, plus over on becleveryourcash.com/banks. So Algeron Sour Gravy says, how do you declare earned interest over £1,000 to HMRC if not submitting self-assessment tax returns? I caveat on this one, I don't know 100% of this, but I'm pretty sure you'd have to start declaring self-assessment tax returns, which sounds a bit ridiculous when you consider interest rates increasing quite massively, meaning more people will be pushed into that area. But I'm sure there'll be information on that on the HMRC website. Good one for me to try and, if I remember, to look, I'll make a note of that here for another time. And I will look into that. Okay. Peter Barley, could you please explain Islamic Sharia banking? For example, there is a 3-month bond account with BLME Bank at 2.78%, and they are following Sharia banking principles. What pluses and minuses will it be if sign up? So this is an interesting thing because actually there's been a lot of these Sharia accounts which have been top of the table or near the top of the table over the last year, particularly with some of those fixes with likes of BLME and Gatehouse, and also Easy Access with Al Rayyan. They've often been, if not at the top, near the top, and a few other providers as well. They do not offer interest. That is against Islamic principles. So they offer instead something called an expected return or expected profit rate. And that basically means there's no guarantee, but they're all working within this organization's this sort of broader structure. Now, if they were to not do it, if they turn around and go, we're not going to give you this, there would be a lot of trouble, particularly with the amount of money I'm sure they've picked up offering those sort of best buy rates over the last year or so. So there is a risk. I would say it's a very, very small risk that you don't get that complete rate at the end. In terms of what else they offer, they are kind of, I wouldn't say they're ethical, I'd say they are semi-ethical. There are a number of things which might adhere to your personal principles if you are not Muslim, which you might see as a benefit. So they won't invest any money you save with them in gambling or tobacco, but that doesn't mean they won't be putting money into oil. I mean, in fact, one of the big is Sharia compliant accounts, which you see on Raisin, is QIB, which is Qatar. So again, there's going to be, it's not fully ethical, but it is kind of partially ethical. So that's something to think about there as well. Let me quickly jump over to Instagram, because I know you guys, it's harder for me to follow the comments there. So sometimes you guys do get missed out. So let me just scroll through, see what I can find. So Vivek Singh says, hi Andy, are there any good credit cards for people who haven't lived in the UK for more than 1 year? I'm looking beyond Capital One, Aqua, etc. Something with a few rewards. So the interesting thing here about any credit card, doesn't matter if it's a good credit card, a reward credit card, whatever it might be, whether you're brand new to the country or whether you're just starting off with a new credit card, or in fact any credit card you get, really you want to be getting the one that you're most likely to get. Forget the brands, go to an eligibility search, normally on a comparison site, and maybe do one or two of them, because they generally only show you the ones they're paid to get a commission from. So you might want to check one or two sites to get a larger range. Do an eligibility search or go directly to some credit card companies as well, and see what your chances are of getting accepted. That's the best thing I could say with any kind of credit card. Obviously, if you've only been here in the UK for a year, that obviously makes things a bit harder as well. Same with anyone who's just turned 18 or someone who had a bad credit report in their past. Sean Wrench says, is Revolut or Monzo's travel insurance good for me? I'm going traveling in Asia. So this is, you know what? I mean, I hate insurance. It's the one thing I don't like doing. All the things I talk about here is going through the policy documents. And you've got to go through the policy documents. I know it's awful, whether it's car insurance, home insurance, or travel insurance. You've got to make sure you know you're covered for what you need it for. So with travel insurance, you're going to Asia. There might be some things, depends how old you are, Sean, but it depends. You might be, I know lots of people on the kind of the backpacking route, they might be doing sort of lazy rivers in Laos, or you might be doing a bungee jump somewhere, or who knows what you might be doing. Those, or maybe if it's winter, there's skiing. A lot of those activities are excluded, or you have to pay more for them to be sort of added on. And that might not be possible with a Revolut or Monzo travel insurance. There might be other things that aren't covered as well. So really have a look. If you've already got these accounts or you're paying for them, again, these are paid, they're not free. Have a look at what they offer and go onto a comparison site and see what they are offering you from travel insurance as well. Cheapest doesn't mean it's best. You've got to make sure you're covered for what you need. Lots of documentation, but the summary document on top should give you the kind of a heads up, at least to help you get a comparison if you want to then going a little bit further. Ben Cheshire says over on YouTube, how many days should be given between standing orders for accounts owned by the same person, e.g. transferring from Lloyds to Halifax account A and then Halifax account A to Halifax account B? That's a very good question. The reason I would normally suggest you give days, and I'm sure Ben knows why he's asking this question, I'll give you a few days notice between standing orders when you are transferring money around a number of different reward accounts. Generally, this is to make sure you kind of meet the criteria to get free cinema tickets or interest or whatever it might be. Is because weekends and bank holidays can sometimes delay standing orders being processed. So I would generally give what I do a couple of days notice, or 3 days generally, just to kind of take into account a bank holiday as well. And that can stretch things out over a month. If you've got lots of accounts, the money going around, quite a few of them. Account to account, really interesting. Don't know. I would say start off, why don't you just set them up and keep an eye on it, see what happens. Because every bank does this differently. Some banks don't move things around because of the weekend. Sometimes they just do it on the day anyway. Set them up and see if it goes straight away on the weekend. Do it for next month or whatever. Just have a note to have a check. The money goes in there. And if not, you can manually do it if you need to do it by date, or you can adjust that standing order for future months. Sia says, I have a legacy Help to Buy ISA paying a poor rate of interest of around 1.85%. There isn't a competitive market among the banks, and I'm wondering whether I should move my money. Would I be able to transfer my Help to Buy ISA into a stocks and shares one without it using up my ISA allowance? So, Help to Buy ISAs are cash ISAs. They're sitting to that kind of £20,000 limit, overall limit, along with the cash. Those you can't, with a lifetime ISA, use a 4,000 limit on that out of the 16,000, with 16,000 for everything else. This one just sits in that broader allowance. You could, I guess it depends. Are you going to use it? Do you think you're going to use the Help to Buy ISA to buy a house which costs under £250,000 in most of the UK, or under £450,000 in London? If that doesn't seem likely, then there's no point keeping that money in there, because you don't get the bonus of a Help to Buy ISA until you actually make that purchase. If you think the £450,000 limit is good for you and you're outside London or even in London, you could consider a lifetime ISA, and you can transfer up to £4,000 from your Help to Buy ISA into a lifetime ISA. That one has a few more restrictions. It's harder to take the money out. I have got a whole video looking at lifetime ISAs if you want to check that out. So I would consider that one first of all. You obviously got it because you want to buy a house. If not, yeah, I mean, you can transfer your Help to Buy ISAs. As long as another ISA accepts money in, you can transfer that one across to a different one. And if you wanted to convert it into stocks and shares, there are ways of doing that. Often they'll take it in as cash and then you invest it in that Help to Buy and that ISA provider. Again, you can get lifetime ISAs as cash or stocks and shares. If you're thinking of buying your house, though, I would encourage you not to do the stocks and shares version, because your value could go down. The amount of money you have could go down in value. You're much better keeping it in cash there for a house purchase buying in the short term. KPW81 says, no question for me, just a thank you. Since I found your content mid-year, I have got around £800 of switching, plus cashback and savings through discounted gift cards and Halifax rewards. That is amazing. Fantastic. Really glad that you've, the stuff I've spoken about and written about has made a difference to you. NLS says, hi Andy, does the bank tell you how much interest you earn from savings, regular or instant, over the year? Will I have to do it the hard way by searching through bank statements? So the vast majority of banks will send you an interest statement, May, probably, maybe April, May, maybe June, depending on it. And that should say how much interest you earned in that financial year across a particular account. If you've got more than one account with them, you might have more than one of these statements. Where you need to be careful of this is potentially if you have closed the account, moved elsewhere, closed your current account, you might not get this. So just to try and get these sort of statements and things if you are going to sort of switch away before you do that. In fact, it's worth just downloading some of your statements broadly if you're switching. Forget about the interest ones. However, there will be some that don't do this, which is a bit of a pain. I can't tell you which ones they are off the top of my head, but I definitely remember seeing a comment of this recently over in the Facebook group where someone has been impacted by that. Alex says, congratulations on the 50,000 subscribers. Thank you, Alex. Yeah, that happened this morning, I think, or maybe late last night. I will, when I've got a chance, I'll do a little message to everyone following. But thank you, because obviously I can't have hit that level, that 50,000 subscribers, without you guys subscribing. So thank you so much for all the support you've shown the channel this year and before that. But yeah, it's mad. So I started the year on just over 20,000. And that year had been a great increase. We went from 4,000 subscribers at the start of 2021 to 20, and now up to 50. It's absolutely amazing. So I don't know whether I can do another 30,000 subscribers this year. Wouldn't it be amazing if it was over 50? I think that would be too much of a stretch, but you never know. But hopefully if I can get to 75, 80k in 12 months time, that would be absolutely amazing. Mini Mad says, evening Andy, Merry Christmas if we don't see you before then. Yeah, Merry Christmas to you guys, all of you, Mini Mad as well, everyone. Christopher Rhodes says, would you be willing to discuss general predictions for interest rates for fixed bonds over the short term, 3 months, medium term, 1 year, and long term, 5 years? So I actually spoke about this a couple of times in recent videos, Christopher, so you can check those out. One of them was the video about base rate interest rise, what happened last week, the 3.5% base rate increase rate, interest rate. And the other one was in my December savings update video, which was at the start of the month. Done a bonus one at the weekend, but both of those talk about the likelihood is they've peaked. Interest rates have peaked for fixed, not necessarily easy access and notice accounts. Walter says, hi Andy, big congrats on the 50k. Thank you, Walter. My question, I saw a recent post online saying that holding cash in Vanguard stocks and shares provides 3.1% interest. Is this correct or misunderstanding? Don't know about that one. It strikes me as that would be a misunderstanding because, or some sort of restrictions or limitations on that, because otherwise we'd all be opening Vanguard stocks and shares for our savings right now, because that would be top of the table. Stephen says, thanks, Andy. Well, thank you, Stephen. I appreciate that. Andrew says, what would you say is the #1 best savings account right now to open? Should I open the Coventry Building Society savings account for the 3.25% in January, or Chase 2.7%, or the Barclays ISA? Well, if you're looking for the highest rate, then out of those ones, Barclays will give you 4% on that ISA. That's higher than the others. So there you go. Obviously, you need to take into account how much of your ISA allowance you've already used or are using elsewhere, or if you've already paid into an ISA this year. The Coventry Building Society account, 3.25%. Yes, well, a week and a half away, 2 weeks away before that rate increasing. That is a limited 6 withdrawals a year. So will you need to access your money? If you do, more than 6 times a year, that could be a problem. Or you could just do it on that last withdrawal, that 6th withdrawal, take all the money out and put it into something else. And Chase at 2.7. I mean, Chase is a good app, for your general banking. If you like to have everything together, that has its advantages, but you can beat it with Zopa with 2.86% or Chip with 3%, even though Chip has a few idiosyncrasies, which I spoke about in the update on Sunday. So really, there's lots of different options there, but it really depends how much you've got and how much access you need. But again, these are going to keep changing as well. Remember that. Yusuf says, I have 2 welcome offers on my Amex Gold card. Is this a normal thing for them to do? No, that is not normal. Be interested to know more about that. If you could send me a screen grab, maybe either on email, andy@becleveryourcash.com, or on one of the other channels, or go into the best place, go to the community, actually join us there and post it there, and we can look into that a little bit more. Steve says, what is it with HSBC and their ridiculous conditions for bank switching to them? I mean, to be fair, a lot of the bank switching conditions were like that they don't want to give you the money more than once. And they treat First Direct as part of HSBC, which is why they have that limitation if you've got an account with one or the other. But actually, some of their other conditions are better than others in terms of what's required to switch over. 2 standing orders is much better than 2 direct debits, because you can just set up a standing order to yourself elsewhere and not have to worry about it at all. But yeah, it could be a lot easier, and hopefully the conditions, if it comes back in the new year, the conditions will have changed a little bit in terms of the eligibility date. Let's jump back onto into Instagram. Daryl says, I've been working hard to clear all my non-mortgage debt, but my credit score has dropped. Is it best to have a small amount of debt or take the hit on the credit score? That could be very much a short-term thing, because yeah, absolutely, when you do get rid of your debt, you think that's fantastic, I should be doing better, my score should improve. But it doesn't always, because lenders like to see that you have a kind of a decent relationship with borrowing. You're able to borrow and pay it back. So there is something to be said potentially about having a small, very small mortgage available. You might be able to renegotiate with your lender how much that is, rather than keep it open at the same amount. Just reduce the monthly payments so it keeps going for a bit longer. You could obviously look at credit cards if you don't already have one of those, but also things like mobile phone contracts will play into that as well. So there are lots of things you can do, because remember, not everyone has a mortgage, so it's not the be all and end all. But yeah, it is frustrating when that happens. I completely sympathize with you there. Adam Scott says, can you have a help to buy ISA and a lifetime ISA? Yes, you can, but you can't use both. So you have to make a choice which one you use when you buy a house. And DQ84 says, which company would you recommend for a lifetime ISA? I was thinking about Moneybox, but I'm not sure. Again, same with any other savings account. Really, if you're looking at a lifetime ISA in cash rather than investments, the best rate is the one to go for, one with the highest rate. Simple as that, really. You might want to also think about access and app and things like that and pay money in, but broadly, you're only going to get that money out once, when you buy a house or when you retire. So you don't really need to have it in a funky app that you can access all the time and do things with. It's just when you buy the house, you fill in the forms, you do what you need to do, or your solicitor does, to get that money towards your deposit. So again, I wouldn't worry too much. Just go for whatever's paying the highest rate. Tired Mum says, good evening. Do you think Virgin will ever lift their rates? It's hard to say, isn't it? So Virgin were obviously at the front of the highest paying rates for a long, long, long time until Chase came along. And even then, they then increased their rates to go a bit above that for a short period. But then they haven't been keeping up with it. Other than in ISAs right now, there's a 3% ISA on Easy Access, which is the market leader one there. And there's a 3.8, something like that, 1 year fix. So they're definitely putting some money into ISAs right now, but not in their kind of linked accounts to their current account. We'll have to wait and see. They also stopped their switching offer in September, October time, and that had been running consecutively since late 2020. So they were obviously, I think, having a rethink of how they do things, how they engage with customers. Maybe they'll come back with something similar. Maybe they do something completely different. Rydia says, hi Andy, have you seen that Starling introduced virtual bank cards from Spaces? Are these useful to use? Yeah, I'm going to do something on these. I probably will do an updated Chase review on the channel in the new year. Sorry, not Chase, Starling review. We'll probably do a Chase one as well. It's a long list of videos that I want to do. But this is quite interesting. So this is, for those who don't know, a virtual card is one that isn't physical at all. And a few different the new banks will offer this. They often charge you for it, though. It's not a free feature. With Starling, it's free. You have one, as you say, with the Spaces, and you can have up to 5 of these cards at any time. And you can link it in. And it basically means that you can add it digitally to your wallet, your Apple Wallet, your Google Pay, whatever it might be. And when you pay, you can choose, I want it to come out of this card, which is linked to this space, or that link card, which is linked to that space. And it really can help with budgeting in a sense. So you can actually really portion things out, and you can kind of knock it all down into like, this is my supermarket spend, this is my going out spend, this is holiday spend, whatever it might be. Chase does something similar. Chase lets you set up a number of sub accounts which also have sort codes and account numbers, and lets you choose beforehand before you make a purchase which one your card is linked to. So they work in a similar way, but I think the Starling one's probably a little bit easier because you're not having to faff around the app to choose it. You're just making that payment. However, great as these are for budgeting, I think for some people they'd be perfect. For me personally, I'm never going to use them because I'm doing all my spending as much as I can on a cashback card or potentially a 0% card to take advantage of stoozing. So from that point of view, not for me, but I certainly think they'd be interesting people. And I say I'll update my review next year and I'll look at them in more detail. But yeah, it's a great innovation. I do love what Starling are always doing. Andrew says, do you think Starling or Chase will come with credit cards anytime soon? Hard to say. Starling have launched a savings account. I forgot to mention that actually in my update at the weekend. I'll hang it over to next year. It's not a great rate. It's a fix at 3.25, I think, a 1 year fix, which can be beaten elsewhere. But that's the first time they've been offering anything like that. So it'd be interesting to see what they do. Chase, you'd imagine they're going to do credit cards at some point. That's obviously a big thing for them in the States, but at the moment, no idea. Obviously, as soon as I hear anything, I will let you guys know. Another Andrew says, Merry Christmas to you and Becky. I don't qualify for the first direct switching bonus. Is it worth opening an account to get the 7% regular saver? Yeah, I mean, potentially. If you've got money you can put aside every single month, £300 is the most you can put into that account. 7%, I think it gives you, if you did that full amount every single month, you get 135 quid interest at the end of the year. That's the highest rate at the moment. 7% you're going to get on any of your money anywhere. Just obviously bearing in mind that it's on the amount that's in there each month. I've talked about regular savers in more detail in other videos, so I won't do it again now. But if you're happy to have multiple accounts and happy to manage them, you could literally have a first direct account, open it up from another bank, send £300 in every single month, and that will go from another standing order from there into the regular saver. You don't have to do anything. You just let it do its thing. No money has to go in or out. It's very simple from that point of view. So there's little risk associated with it, as long as you're happy with multiple accounts. Pedro says, I've gotten a statement for my credit card, but the direct debit has not gone out yet. Will any more spending add towards the utilization rate? So this is a kind of one we're getting more uncertainty with it, because credit reference agencies will sometimes take the report at different times in terms of what your balance is. Sometimes they take it from a set date. Sometimes they take it from the highest on the card. Sometimes they take it from the credit card statement. It will vary across all of those. So it's hard to really know exactly what they're looking at any point in time, what your credit utilization rate is. So I wouldn't worry too much about it. I would just, as long as you can afford the spending and you're going to clear it completely, then just go with it. If you are particularly worried about it, and the direct debit's not coming for a few more weeks, whatever it might be, then you can always make a manual payment. Just be really careful here, and I have spoken about this on the podcast recently. Be really, really careful here that you do this well in advance of the direct debit going out, because if it doesn't readjust as a result of that manual payment, you're going to end up with a negative balance on the credit card. They will owe you money, and you can get them, you can call them or live chat with them and get them to pay you, but that might take some time. So that is the risk associated if you do make a manual payment too close to the direct debit readjustment date, and every credit card company will work differently on that. Sashin says, can you use a nationwide Flex Plus debit card abroad? Ooh, I can't remember off the top of my head whether it's fee-free or not. Nationwide does do some things here or there which are fee-free, and obviously that's a paid account, so maybe you can. The information will be on the Nationwide website. Go on there, have a look, and if one of the features if they're doing it, they're going to be very loud and clear that this is a fee-free card to use overseas. If not, don't use it. And in fact, I would be using overseas the Chase debit card, 1% cashback for 12 months, fee-free at home and abroad, and I would possibly be looking at the Barclays card rewards credit card as well. 0.25% is a lot less in terms of how much you'll get, but sometimes when you're away, you do need a credit card. When you're hiring a car at a hotel, you put in like a hold, for incidentals in case you go crazy with a minibar. So I think they're the best. They're my top picks for spending overseas. But obviously, if you've got that account, it's fee free. Then that would be good. Matt says, bank switching. Do I have to switch all of my Barclays accounts? What is the U-switch guarantee? Okay. So I've just answered the question when I publish this every week. I do also Q&A obviously on the website as well with other questions that have come along. I've just sort of answered one there around this. Existing accounts, I think is what you're asking here. If you have additional accounts with the bank you're switching away from, it depends on the criteria, on the rules for that additional account, whether you'll lose them when you switch away. So a good example here is there will be some, like the regular saver from First Direct is a really good example of that. You can only have that if you have the current account. You can't just open up that savings account. However, you can get, can't think of one on the top of my head now, but other banks will let you have a savings account, for example, which doesn't require a current account. So if you had that bank and you switched away, you could still keep that current account. Hey, they were the Halifax regular saver. That's a good example of that. If you had a Halifax current account and a Halifax regular saver, but you switched the current account away, the regular saver would stay open. That wouldn't be a problem. So you have to look at what your other accounts are with Barclays to find out whether you're required to have a current account with them in order to keep them. There is a kind of workaround with some banks for this, that you can open up an additional current account with them. Often takes just a few seconds in the app. And then that means you're still a customer. You're switching one away, but you're still there. In terms, it's not the U-switch guarantee. It's the current account switching service guarantee, okay? This is where, it's nothing to do with U-switch at all. This is where when you move over, they will guarantee your payments in and out, and your balances and everything will be moved over effectively indefinitely. In real terms, it's like 3 years. They actually actively track it. So if anything goes wrong, if money doesn't get moved over, then you get compensation. So that's well worth sort of making sure that if you do a full switch, not a partial switch, a full switch, that is part of that. How are we doing? Oh my blind! Right, we've only got a couple of minutes. Samuel says, what was the first bank account and credit cards you ever had and why? The first ones I had were simply because that was where my parents banked, so they opened me up a current account for there. And then the next one I got is where my university was. That was the bank on campus. And similarly, the credit card, I think the first one I had there was because that was with my bank that I was with at the time. Right, sorry guys, we've really run out of time here. I'm trying to see if we're going to do really quickly. Steve says, I'm thinking of getting a Tesco credit card. I shop and get my fuel there on a weekly basis. Would you recommend it, or would it be better off with Amex or Barclays card? Nah, I don't think the Tesco one is any good at all. The points you get are not fantastic. I mean, obviously, you could also take into account that the points, when you earn them, you can then triple their value with club card boosts and so on. But even then, the things you generally get with the boost on club card now, I don't think are that fantastic. And often there are savings elsewhere. So absolutely, I would go for the highest paying cashback card you can. As I mentioned, American Express, the Nectar one is the best one. Yes, you can use that in Tesco, although I appreciate you might not want to use the Tesco point, the Nectar points in Sainsbury's. But anyway, that's the top one, or the Chase Bank one. They're the highest paying 1% cards right now. Guys, I might have to give it a call it a day now. We're literally 1 minute left. Let me quickly check over here on lots of help to buy nicer questions over there. So that suggests there's more content needs to be done there. Petrol Head says, do you think ISA rates will go above the 4% current financial year? I guess you're talking about the fix. Unlikely, but you never know. That Barclays card, so that Barclays 4% one, that's an interesting one. I wouldn't have thought so. Right, guys, I'm really sorry I have to call this one for the end of the day. Have a lovely Christmas. Remember, over on the community, the Facebook group, beclaimyourcash.com/community is the short URL to take you there. Please apply to join. If I did not get to your question today, please do and ask it in there. And I'll try and answer it when I get a second. If not, say all the other people in there. Loads of really friendly people. I'm sure many of you guys who will be able to help out as well. And yeah, I'll be back with another live in the new year. I'm still going to be producing content. Still got videos coming out between Christmas and New Year as well. So keep an eye on those. Hopefully that'll help you get everything ship shape for 2023. Guys, Merry Christmas, and I'll see you soon.